Well, I'm delighted to introduce to you someone who's just come into writing and branching narrative, but from all accounts is incredible. I'd like to welcome you to Harley, HL Truslove is your pen name. Welcome to International Game Book Day.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. Now, your name came to me through obviously Jonathan Green and
Mm.
also Troy Anthony Shermer, who has created the Savage Realms
Mm.
series. In fact, his interview was just before, and he sings your praises. And
Oh,
currently,
bless him.
you're working on something which is going to be kind of your own, and it sounds like you're going to create something quite unique within the Savage Realms world, and it's going to be called Wasteland. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I originally gave it a little bit more of a poncy title. It was something like Wanderers of a Savage Waste, and Troy Anthony went, no, let's just cut that down a little bit. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
make it something a little bit more snappy. In it is called Wasteland, which is funny because I'm going to a talk on T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland tonight, so that's a bit strange.
Ah,
But
wow.
yes, so it's a sort of post-apocalyptic jaunt about oh, how much can I say without giving spoilers?
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I know.
where's it set? What's your world going to be?
So it I wanted to try and make it sort of as pan-continental as possible. So it could be your town, in X amount of years after the next war has been and gone. There
Yes.
are influences sort of suggesting that it might be America, but that there's nothing 100% set. I think we're still discussing with the illustrator like what sort of background things we're going to have. So I think we were discussing maybe the American flag being in the background, because I think there's something that suits post-apocalyptic settings quite well in America. Um,
Indeed.
I mean, that's
There's
not
more
that's not
land to travel, isn't there?
well,
There's so many
exactly.
vast plains of nothing, and then
Well,
when you find something exciting, in England you just have to go like a mile or two
yeah,
miles until
exactly.
you stumble across another place.
And it's like you've got to go 5 days up the road, and you're like, oh no. But then again, as British people, that is quite daunting sometimes, isn't it? What they say, like a
Yeah,
100 years is a long time in America, but 100 miles is a long wait in England, right?
yeah, quite definitely. Yes. So, are we, have you got a kind of a year it's set as well? Have you got something? Is it going
it
to be
it's just the far future. There is
okay?
no specific date. It is long enough that the world, that as we know it, has started to crumble and nature has begun to take back over. But it is sort of suggested that there was some sort of nuclear fallout because as
Okay.
you travel, as you all know in Savage Realms game books, you will come across all sorts of horrible beasties. And I really wanted to throw in some horrible beasties. So there's lots of like mutated creatures and mutated people. So the suggestion is something awful happened and everyone changed.
Quite fantastic. That sounds great. I love that kind of Mad Max kind of
Yeah.
futuristic, Zardos style world. Actually, Zardos is a little bit way in the future, but yeah, I love it. In fact, I've got a friend of mine who does all the live action.
Ah,
I think it's actually called Wastelands, actually. Mark Caudry, who makes a lot of our props. Look him up, and
amazing.
you can get all the amazing kit for it, because I think post-apocalyptic is becoming more and more popular. So
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Definitely. It's
certainly getting the zeitgeist.
yeah, I think people every day it feels like there's more bad news. So maybe there's a comfort in the post-apocalyptic where it's like, well, this is the worst that could happen. Hopefully, it
Yes.
won't be this bad.
So
Plus, I think
as the character that's going through it, the protagonist, are they going to be human, or are they going to be mutated, or um,
no, they're a human. The very first thing that happens, once again, without going into too much detail, is you live in a village, a sort of hamlet with your with the group of humans. and you get to a sort of significant age at which point you are asked, do you want to do X or Y? And whatever happens, it leads to there being an issue where you may need to leave the village and then find a way to come back safely. So the idea is you always are striving to get home, but there is this world that is unfriendly that wants to try and swallow you up along the way. So that's the idea is always that is the goal at the end, to get home and go back to your people and not die, because you, once again, in Savage Realms game books, they're called Savage Realms for a reason, aren't they? You know, I like throwing in a few, and then all your limbs have fallen off and your head explodes. And that's it. Try again.
Well, I was going to go. Of course, we're very close to Halloween, and when we did move this to for the horror aspect. So, when you're writing the nastier, more gruesome parts of your books, now, is there something in your head that goes a certain direction? Are there certain film series or book series that you kind of go, actually, that's my world that I'm working in?
That's a good question. I really do love horror films. There's nothing I like more than when my partner's out for the evening, I'll just be like, what horror film can I have on tonight? And I'll just sit there until it's very small hours in the morning and go, yeah, this is great. But I'm also very easily scared, so I'm trying to, you know, make those two parts of myself at odds, be reconciled. But I love body horror. I love
Ooh.
ideas, anything in films where you look at something about the body going wrong, right? I just find it really interesting about, you know, we put so much care and effort into looking after our bodies, but something bad's about to happen to them. I mean, at the moment we've been, as I say, my partner and I, we've been watching the X-Files, and there's so much in that I find utterly charming when it comes to like practical effects and seeing what they're doing to, like, oh, this person's been taken over by an alien, or oh, this person's been infected with this. And I'm watching it, I'm like, I just find this so wonderful, both on a horror level, because there's a lot of episodes that are quite scary, and just I love practical effects. I think CGI is terrible.
Seen the Oh no, definitely. Have you seen the? Oh, well, I was going to say, I forgot his name now. Have you seen Naked Lunch and David Cronenberg's films?
I have not. Let me make a note.
Oh, you're in for a treat. So David Cronenberg, he did The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But he also did things like Naked Lunch, which is a very, very weird one with I think it's Peter Weller. Yeah, very, very strange. Yeah, I think there's cockroaches coming alive, and there's a typewriter made of body parts, and a gun is made out of all bones and sinew and things like it. It's fantastic, and again, all practical effects. But I think the Fly has got the best sort of practical horror effects in there, and obviously Jeff Goldblum is ideal for the hero of that. Hero, villain, I don't know, weird thing. He changes.
Protagonist.
So, who's going to be sort of doing the artwork for the book, The Wastelands?
So we've got a couple of different ones. We have Gary Trow is doing the interiors, and Troy Anthony has been sending me over all of the work that he's been doing at the moment, with all of the sort of inside pages with the little. It's just so wonderful to have an illustration sent over, and I can go, oh, that's that character. And brilliant. I've not even been told, I just know because that's how I described them, and it's been so beautifully translated to the page. Gary Trow has just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I can't stop looking at all of the pictures, and I can't wait to see how they fit into the book. I think they're really going to bring it alive. And then we have Helge C. Bowser. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce your name, Helge. I've only seen it written down, but has done this just beautiful picture for the front of it. I say beautiful, it's quite upsetting to look at, but in a good way. Body horror once
Yeah.
again, because Troy Anthony said to me, Savage Realms, you need a big monster on the front of it as the hook.
Mm.
So the big monster that we have is this big mutated bear, and we have this sort of picture of this horrid creature sort of lumbering out of a cave, and I just think it's it's amazing to have illustrators who just from reading what you've put can just pull it straight out your head.
Yeah,
I'm
that's amazing.
flabbergasted.
And have you finished writing it, or
Yeah,
do you think after seeing some of the illustrations, you kind of go, "Oh, actually, maybe I could just go back and maybe describe the some of the images a little bit more into the narrative."
that's a very good idea actually. At the moment I was saying that it was done, but I might have a word when I see the final mock-ups of all of the drawings, see if there's
Yeah.
anything that we can add in to have a little bit more of a nod to the illustrations, because it's lovely to have it be one big cohesive thing that all of us put a hand in to create. Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely, I mean, it's all world building, isn't it? I mean, I
Yeah.
remember the original Fighting Fantasy books, which a lot of the
Mm,
viewers would have seen. The original illustrations were just so evocative, and you just kind of fell into that world through those illustrations, and then
definitely.
through the narrative. So I think it's got to work together. There's a nice balance. So what's next after this one? Have you got any plans to write any more sort of narrative
Yes, I am.
books?
So at the moment, I am working with a company. They're called Obvious Mimic, and they are writing single person Dungeons and Dragons adventures.
Ooh,
So you may have heard, your listeners may have heard possibly of the Walls of Langston. That's been quite advertised over like different platforms. I saw it advertised on Facebook, and I messaged the company saying, "Are you looking for more writers?" And they said, "Yes." And I said,
wow.
"Could it be me?" And so I wrote them a little sample, and I sent over to them. So now we're working together. I'm writing a sort of nautical pirate based Dungeons and Dragons single person adventure, set on the sort of high seas, getting up to mischief, all that sort of thing. I'm having loads of fun
Oh,
writing it. It's totally different to Wasteland, but I think
yeah.
variety is the spice of life, and I really love Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm having a really good time doing it. That will probably go on Kickstarter. I'm not sure if it's going to be the end of this year or the start of the next, because Obvious
Okay.
Mimic are getting loads of traction with their single person adventures, as they should, because they're all really
Yeah.
good, and once again wonderfully illustrated. So go
Wow.
and have a look at them if you enjoy, especially like D&D,
Okay.
and definitely go and play them. Go and play them.
And when is Wastelands coming out? How can we see that and follow that so we can get it as soon as it comes out?
So Wasteland has finished its Kickstarter. I believe that Troy Anthony was talking about reopening it for a little bit to see if we could get some more later pledges. But
Yeah.
ideally, I think that we are looking at a sort of January release. So new year, new book.
Fantastic. And presumably that'll be available on Amazon afterwards, so
Yeah,
you can get it
yeah,
worldwide.
yeah, yeah. Go to Amazon, have a look at it, and yeah, it's such a pleasure, honestly, working for Savage Realms, because when you work for them, you get a copy of each of the new books that they bring out. So every now and then, I'll just
Brilliant.
have a parcel arrive from Amazon. I'll go, I don't know what this is, and they'll open it up and be like, oh, amazing.
Oh, fantastic. So, can people, do you have social media? Can people follow what you do? And you have website, or
Yeah,
how,
definitely.
how can people?
You can follow me on Instagram. So my tag is, this is all one word, little pink hair. My hair is not currently pink at the moment. I need to dye it again. Um,
Or get a wig.
Mostly,
That'd be
or get a wig.
fine.
There we go. I actually have
Yeah.
a pink wig in the cupboard. I could go and get it, but
Ah.
that's take too long. I post a lot of my so I do a lot of poetry stuff. I was recently a national finalist for the BBC's Words First project, which was
Oh,
like
brilliant.
a thing about new and emerging voices in the poetry community across the country. And I got to go
Yeah.
and perform at their Contain Strong Language Festival in Leeds, which was really, really humbling and flattering. And I've really enjoyed it. So I have a little bit of a mix of all of my stuff on there. So you might come along for one thing and get another. But if
Yeah.
you want to contact me to talk about, I mean, I would love, hi listener, I would love to write for you. So if you want to get in contact, if you've got any projects you want to discuss working on, I absolutely love writing, especially second person fiction, branching narratives. Now it's not the groove that I thought I would get into, but now I utterly can't get enough of it.
Wow.
So my email, if I can just give that, my professional email is HL Truslove, which you will probably see written down at gmail.com.
Yeah.
So get in touch if
Brilliant.
you want to discuss a project. I'd love to write.
Brilliant. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming along. We can't wait to see Wasteland and the other one as well. What's the other one called? The
So at the moment, it's got a temporary title. I'm not sure if we're definitely going to call it this, but it will be,
Okay.
at the moment, it's The Pirates of Brigand's Bay.
Sounds good. I like the sound of that. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll keep an eye on you, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of years' time, and we'll talk about the next 5 projects and
Oh,
the other
that'd be
ones you've
lovely.
done. Thank you
Thank you
again.
for having me.
Thank you. Pleasure.